Hello, and welcome back to Classic Times. Today, I'll be covering Stage 29 of the Cambridge Latin course, and I'll be covering the topics of passive verbs and more on-purpose clauses. Okay, let's begin. Passive verbs. So in Book 1, you met verbs such as consume it, meaning he or she is eating, and portabant, meaning they were carrying. And these are ordinary, active forms. Now, we're meeting verbs in the passive form, which are often translated with the words been or being. And passive verbs can never take an object. For example, consumiter, he, she, or it is being eaten, and portabantur, they were being carried. So now, let's compare the active and passive forms of the present tense. So the present tense active form of the verb porto is on the left hand side, and the passive form is on the right hand side. And you'll notice how the passive has been translated with the word being. Now, let's compare the active and passive forms of the imperfect tense. So on the left hand side are verbs in the imperfect active. And you'll be familiar with the endings bam bas bat, bamas batis bant. And on the right are the imperfect passive form of the verb porto. So you may have noticed that the passive verb endings are ris ter, mini unter. And just to reiterate, that's ris ter, mini unter, to recognise a passive form. So now, let's have a look at purpose clauses. So as you should already know, purpose in Latin is usually expressed by ut plus the subjunctive, unlike in English, which uses an infinitive. However, purpose can be expressed in two other ways. The first is with a main verb plus a relative pronoun plus the subjunctive. So if we have a look at this example, femina servum missit qui cibum emeret. Missit is your main verb, qui is the relative pronoun, and emeret is your subjunctive. And it's translated literally as the woman sent a slave who might buy food. However, this sounds a bit clunky, so more naturally in English we would say the woman sent a slave to buy food. And the second way is with a main verb plus ubi plus a subjunctive. So in this example, locum quae rabamus ubi staramus. Quae rabamus is your main verb, ubi is in the sentence, and staramus is in the subjunctive. And this is literally translated as we were looking for a place where we might stand, but more naturally as we were looking for a place to stand. Now that we've covered the grammar, it's time to move on to the vocabulary. Alii alii, some others. Ascendere, to climb. Audacia, audacity or boldness. Captivus, a prisoner or captive. Circumvenire, to surround. Defendere, this is quite a nice easy one to remember. To defend. Dirus means dreadful. Dolor is grief or pain. Incedere, to march. Liberi is children. Lux means light or daylight. Male is an irregular infinitive, to prefer. Odi, I hate. Perficere, to finish. Populus is people. Prius is earlier, salus is safety or health, scelus is crime, spurnere, to despise, ubique, everywhere, wester, your plural, and vivus means alive or living. Now, let's go through a few examples of passive verbs in action. Clamor, e puero auditor. The shout is being heard by the boy. Multa scelera in hac urbe cotidi committuntur. Many crimes are being committed in this city every day. Winum ab ancilla fundebatur. Wine was being poured by a slave girl. So notice how each of these passive verbs has been translated with being. And, just to reiterate, the endings are r, ris, ter, mer, mini, unter. Now let's move on to having a look at a few examples of purpose clauses. Domitianus cultrum cepit quo victimam sacrificaret. Domitian took a knife with which to sacrifice the victim. Haruspices aderant qui exter victimarum inspicerant. Soothsayers were present to inspect the victim's entrails. Domum emere volabam ubi filius meus habitaret. I was wanting to buy the house where my son might live. And in all of these purpose clauses, you have a main verb, a relative pronoun, and a subjunctive. And in the last sentence, instead of a relative pronoun, you have the word ubi. So now, I would like you to have a go at a few sentences yourself to test your understanding. So pause the video and attempt these. Now let's go through the answers. Cana nostra a coquo nunc paratur. Our dinner is being prepared by the cook now. Laudantur, duciter, necabantur, tenebatur. They are being praised. He, she, or it is being led. They were being killed. He, she, or it was being held. Candidati ab amicis salutabantur. The candidates were being greeted by the friends. Feminae liberique locum invenerant ubi laterent. The women and children found a place where they might lie hidden. But more naturally, the women and children found a place to lie hidden. If you manage to achieve full marks, that is truly impressive. You've really grappled with these two new topics well. If you manage to achieve 2 or 3 correct, that's still good going. Keep it up. And if you only manage to achieve 1, these were tough, and I'm sure you'll figure it out next time. Keep going. And I couldn't think of a pun this week, so I'll give you a break from my cheesy puns for a time. They'll be back though. To everyone's discontent, I'm sure. Okay, so just before we finish, let's move on to a passage from the CLC. Masada. So I would like you this time to have a go at translating the first 5 lines. And then I'll take over myself. So pause the video and have a go at going through the first paragraph, 5 lines. Let's go through the first paragraph. Ex carcere ubi captivi custodibantur, tristis clamores audibantur. Due enim feminae ludei, superstistes eorum qui contra Romanos rebellaverunt, fortunam suam lugabant. Altera erat Anus Septuaginta Anorum, Altera Matrona Triginta Annos Nata, Una cum eis in carcere erant quinque liberi, quorum Simon. From the prison, where the captives were being guarded, sad shouts were being heard. For 2 Jewish women, survivors of those who had rebelled against the Romans, were mourning their fortune. One was 70 years old, the other was a matron of 30 years. Together with them in the prison were 5 children. Natu Maximus Solatium matri et aviae ferre temptabat, mater noli lugere, decorum est Judaeis, fortitudinem in rebus adversis praestare. Mater filium amplexa, melius erat inquit, cum patre vestro perere ab hinc annos novem, curtum a morte abhorrui, curvosuari, of whom Simon, the oldest by birth, and was trying to bring comfort to his mother and grandmother. Mother, don't mourn. It is proper for Jews to show courage in misfortune. The mother, having embraced her son, said, "It was better for you to die with your father 9 years ago. Why then didn't I die? Why did I save you?" Simon, his verbis commotus, matrem regravit quo modo perisset, pater atque quaere rem prius non naraviset, eam oravit, ut omnia explicaret, sed tantus erat dolor matris ut primo nihil dicere posset, mox cum se collegisset, ad liberos conversa. Simon, having been disturbed by these words, asked his mother how his father had died, and why she had not told him the story earlier. He begged her to explain all things, but the pain of the mother was so great at first that she was able to say nothing. Soon, when she had collected herself, she turned to her children. "Concerning the death of your father, I did not want to tell you earlier, so that you would not also die, having imitated this example, for you and your brothers are already too stubborn. Now, however, I dare to reveal to you the whole story, because we are all about to die tomorrow." Wow, so that is one of the most bleak and sort of surreal endings that we've met so far. You really want to reach out to the mother who is painstakingly having to explain to her children what has happened to their father many years ago. Okay, so we've now covered stage 29 of the Cambridge Latin course. So let's summarise. Passive verbs. Passive verbs cannot take an object, and they are translated with the words been or being, and the endings are ris ter, mini unter. And finally, purpose clauses with qui and ubi. There are 2 types which we've met today. Type 1 is main verb plus relative pronoun plus subjunctive, and the second type is a main verb plus ubi plus the subjunctive. So thanks for watching, and join me in my next video where I'll be explaining stage 30 of the Cambridge Latin course.